Cool, thank you. Hey guys, and I actually realized today I'm working for the king actually at the moment, but that's beside the point. So this will be a little bit provocation to some of you, maybe a little bit of therapy maybe for me, I hope. So when I started delivering software as a product manager years ago, it was either very chaotic, not controlled, not managed, not scalable, or it was super controlled, bureaucratic, slow, and just fucking painful. And as then the industry matured, and I'm simplifying hugely here, we got CI/CD and we got infrastructure as code and evolutionary architecture and all that good stuff. And we were being told that that would give us reliable, efficient feature delivery at pace and ease, right? Now, from where I'm coming from, more frequently than not, that's not quite the case. I see a lot of my teams fucking about with platforms, fiddling with code, where actually what they should be doing is delivering business value and features, right? And they're telling me, well, Marcel, it's just one last feature we need to build. Then you have the perfect flow, the perfect pipeline, then we'll deliver value. But that never happens because there's always one more thing they need to do. Now, I have seen what good looks like when I worked with the UK tax office where we're deploying more than 30, 40 times a day, right? All fine. But far too frequently do I see startups burning through their entire runway or big organizations and enterprises distracting their teams by asking them to build these really complex platforms they possibly never need, rather than actually doing what they should be doing, namely delivering features and value to the business and users, right? So I want to kind of highlight a couple of anti-patterns that I've seen with my teams and that some DevOps engineers I've been speaking to have mentioned. So one thing we really frequently see is that we just jump to cloud-native solutions like Kubernetes, serverless, or whatever it is. And we do this because everyone else does it, it's fashionable, the big tech companies do it. I also see quite frequently teams going for very esoteric languages or frameworks, over complicated architectures, a lot of event-driven stuff, not necessarily because it solves a problem or it's needed, but because we want to explore it, we want to play with it, we want to have it on the CV, right? Also, a lot of teams I've worked with can get stuck in discussing relatively minor details and arguing about naming conventions or tool choices, because that type of procrastination can just feel more safe and more comfortable than doing really kind of hard things like solving domain problems. And then finally, far too frequently do I see teams building, because building is what we do, right? Whereas what they should be doing is buying, and they gold plate, they overcomplicate far too early, not realizing that that will just bite us later down the line because of complexity that we're adding. And I think the reason really is kind of misunderstanding or forgetting what the purpose of all of this really is, right? If we really bring it down to kind of the bare minimum, is a lot of what we've heard over the last 2 days. It's all about ideas in our heads, turning them into features in the hands of users, do that sufficiently reliably, at pace, and continuously. If we do that okay, then we've created an enabler for value delivery, and that's fine, right? If we do it exceedingly well, like one of my medtech clients who was able to automate a lot of their regulatory requirements as part of their pipeline and had a really successful IPO because of that, then you can gain competitive advantage with your platform or your pipeline or your tooling, right? So we need to think a little bit bigger. Now the question is, how do we get to that point? How do we fix these kind of anti-patterns? Speaking to a lot of my colleagues, everyone says like, look, CI/CD is actually really hard to do well, and you have to have experienced it to understand what great CI/CD really looks like and how it feels and what you need to do. But I think there's kind of 3 things I want to give you on the way. So the first thing is, platform, DevOps, CI/CD isn't an engineering playground, right? It is, yes, sometimes you have to build a really complicated platform and a big one, but if you do, then make sure you really need to do it and you're building the right one, right? Which gets more complicated because one size doesn't fit all. So you need to understand what platform, what pipeline does your organization need at this point in time? And also, what can they support and what can they stomach, right? Which then finally brings me to my final point. Think thinnest, sufficiently reliable platform. Optimize for flow. Build the leanest thing you can do at any point in time, and then iterate, incrementally evolve as you would with any other product. So if you're getting features out regularly, you're delivering value, you can just ignore what I said. If on the other hand, you have a product manager like me who's bitching at you all the time because we don't get features out, maybe you want to do a little bit of introspection. Thank you.